Today's video is sponsored by Artlist.
Hey guys, Flo from Off to Lens here. I'm a French Australian filmmaker based in French Alps, and today I thought it would be a good day to do another cinematography breakdown since I haven't done one in quite a while. This time I want to focus on one of my latest short documentaries, The Basket Maker, which is about my grandfather. And what I want to do obviously is talk about the way I shot it, talk about the gear, but I want to focus on shooting on instinct because the whole thing was shot under 2 hours. Like it took an hour and a half to shoot the whole thing. So I really want to talk about this and how sometimes it is important to approach a documentary like a documentary. So if you haven't watched it, I suggest to go and do it now. It's only 2 minutes, so it won't take long, and then come back to it. But yeah, let's jump into it. Before I start, I thought I would give you some context about this as well. So my wife and I visited my grandparents in south of France near Toulouse, and I only grabbed my camera and my lens, the 28mm Contax Zeiss, which is my favorite lens ever. I had no intention of shooting a documentary. I just thought I'd be shooting, because we were there for 4 days. I always like to grab a few shots like here or there, especially because it was spring, it was nice. And so I did bring a very minimal kit. I think I only had the camera, the lens, an ND, a mic, and that's it. I had no intention in making a documentary or even filming something to make a doco. It's only when my grandfather started explaining how to make baskets to my wife, then I was like, oh, okay, I can maybe cover this and see how I go. So my grandfather's been making those baskets for years, and it's something that I never thought of doing a documentary on it. But the more I started shooting and the more I started filming this, the more I realized that there was something that could be made. But I had no diffuser, no gimbal, no bounce, nothing that I would bring on a proper documentary shoot, which was quite interesting, shooting everything handheld with one lens and a monitor. And I actually shot this in full bright sunny day. I think it was 2 or 3 p.m, super bright, something that I wouldn't do. But again, it was an interesting exercise, and I think I talked about in one of my videos about passion projects. I think that's why they are important sometimes, just to test things. This is not a client project, this is just for me, and it's good sometimes to try something different. Okay, so this is the first scene here. Again, I start with this, and this is the proof that I didn't really talk about intended to do a doco, because there's no shots of him getting ready, getting the leaves for the basket, or him meeting my wife or that kind of thing. There's no establishing shot. It's just him already doing it halfway through. So for this shot, you can tell this is really bright. You can see in the background here, this is extremely bright, and I'm shooting backlight because in a bright sunny day, that's the best you can do, and that's what I wanted to do. But I was actually quite surprised with the amount of details that was retained here in the shadow. There's still a lot of contrast for a super bright day, and I think that's thanks to the Contax Zeiss there. It's an amazing lens, and there's a lot of details retained. As a tip, I always like to put something in the background to give some depth. So there's a bit of foliage here, and shooting wide open obviously helps as well. You get something in the background here, and it helps. It doesn't need to be super defined, but I think it really helps the edit. Of course, having one lens, I needed to move around a lot to get some variety. This is a way that I wanted to do it, to do some close-ups, to do some wider shots. This is a close-ups obviously on the hands. I wanted to focus on this because that's the main action. Obviously I was manual focusing. And you can see again here, bit of detail in the background, a bit of colors as well. It's kind of nice to get a bit of contrast, in red and green and blue, kind of get the whole palette in one shot. I was trying to stay always slightly lower just because the sun was so high. Again, close up. So I was quite interested to use a 28mm lens as a longer focal length, and I think it worked really well in that case. It's quite surprising the amount of different shots that you can get with just one lens, and 28mm is an amazing lens. Again, we're backlit here, similar shots. I wasn't looking for flares, but I was always add something. I'm not sort of person that will chase flares, and maybe with more character like lenses, you know, like my Canon FD lenses have a lot more flares and I like that, but with the Zeiss to be more neutral. So as I was saying, I was shooting wide open like 2.8 the whole time, so I had to use an ND, of course, because this was extremely bright. I was basically making sure that I wasn't clipping anything. You can see here on these shots, these are the inside shots. So even though I didn't intend to shoot a full-on documentary, as I started shooting it, I was like, I may as well get some pickup shots or something different that would help in the edit. So this is where he stores his baskets. There's only a few shots. I think there's like, 2 or 3 shots. But you can clearly tell that it's the same day, like it's really bright here. And I thought it was nice to add something different because all of my shots were of him and my wife sitting outside. They weren't moving, they weren't doing anything, so I had to find something. So whilst they were still up there, I went down here just for 5 minutes and used that. Go forward. Again, same thing, because it was spring, I was trying to get some pickup shots, something to break down the edit, and always shooting in the same direction, backlit, the sun is roughly like in here. And again, shooting wide open with the Zeiss, it's just a certain quality to it with it out of focus here in the foreground and the background. I was just really happy with that. This is probably one of my favorite frames ever. I know it's not much, but it's just organic. There's something about it. And then just keep going. Okay, so this is a wide shot. It looks like a wide shot. This is sort of like an establishing shot, but because the baskets were already kind of made, I couldn't use that at the start. But it's really interesting as a 28mm. This looks wider. Like if you would ask me, I would be maybe like this is a 21mm or something like that. 28mm on a pocket, it's kind of hard to, I think it's close to like a 50. I think it's like a 40, 46, 47. I'll check later. But yeah, it was quite interesting to, I was quite interested to try and see how it would look, and I was really happy with it. Framing for this was important for me because the action was stationary. I was trying to always find line, you know, like rule of third and that kind of stuff, and that really helped. I think I had my guide on the monitor for rule of third for this one. Getting some 2 shots as well and trying to get some compression with the background here. I think that worked out really well. I was really surprised with how soft the light looked. I wasn't using any diffuser, like I was saying, and it looks quite soft. I was really pleased with that. So you can see on this one that is a little bit harsher. Here, this is full like blasting, like 3 p.m. sun. You can see here I'm not over, but not far. One thing that I was doing a lot was to create dirty shots here, to always have some sort of interest here again. Just because the action again is only here, I was trying to move as much to get variety in the shots. Using the same lens and just one person and the same action facing the same way, you really have to work to get different angles, to move around a lot, and this is a really good exercise. This is a documentary, so I didn't want to interfere. I wanted to let the action unfold. So there's a scene here, just in here, where he goes and find more leaves, and I just didn't ask him to redo anything. I just told him to just to keep going, just walk and I'll follow. So he's done this I think twice, so I followed on the second time so I could see how he was doing it. And there's no gimbal, there's no IS on that lens, but I think there was enough weight with the monitor and the camera and the top handle and the lens to have some sort of shake, but not too much that it would look like distracting. Again, trying to get some dirty shots here. You can actually see here when I make the decision, I was here and I was like, oh, I like this, I'll just go here just to get that separation. I think it's always important. Again, I'm just loving the image. There's nothing special about this, but there's something about the Zeiss and out of focus here and here, the color, the blue and the green really worked out well. I graded this in Final Cut with FilmConvert as always, and I was quite happy with the result. Again, just to get some dirty shots, different angle, shooting wide open again. Okay, so this is a good example. I knew that the leaves being wet would have some sort of backlit water, kind of like squirting a bit everywhere. So I really like this shot. This is a shot that I had in mind when I started doing it. low angle like that on the hands, and I'm quite happy with it. Again, always trying to get some foliage. I was always shooting to the right here instead of here, so you can see the sun here is blasting, but again, still being able to retain details here on the fingers, which is nice. I'm gonna go back a bit here, and I'll stop here. Like, again, I'm not someone that looks for flares. Like I was saying, I have other vintage lenses that do really well with this, but for this, yeah, I was quite happy with it to include some of the shots, and yeah, again, the Zeiss did really well to have that harshness here and that kind of details. Foliage again, you can see the pattern, it's always the same thing, but it works. Okay, I think now is a good time to talk about today's sponsor, Artlist. I've been using Artlist for 3 years now. It's essentially a website where you can find your music and your sound effects for your projects, and the first time I've used them was in 2018 when I was working on a big documentary shoot around the world. We had 9 videos to make, and it would have cost quite a lot of money to license individual songs. So being able to just have one subscription and being able to use the songs, any songs that you want for any projects, commercial, personal, documentary, anything, is amazing. As always, I wouldn't tell you guys to use something that I don't use. I use it every week for this channel. I use it on all my projects, and I haven't used anything else for the past 3 years. So it's definitely worth it. If you do subscribe using the link in the description below, you get an extra 2 months. So yeah, just let me know if you do and have fun. It's worth it. Like, I wouldn't tell you guys to use it if I didn't trust that it was definitely 100% worth it. So let me know how you go. Now let's go back into the breakdown. So in the end here, I was trying to shoot everything, out of focus, like wide open, to really concentrate on middle, because at the end the action is happening just here, putting the final touches. And again, I'm really surprised that this is a 28mm. It doesn't look like a 28mm to me. I keep saying it, but it's really amazing when you just force yourself to find new angles and new things using the same length. So for this, I was trying to get, again, different angles, and just to get more variety. I was following the action most of the time, but this was taking about like 15 minutes, so I had time to kind of like go around and find new angles. So top down was new. As you can see here, I was trying to really separate here, so green, yellow, and then blue. I think that worked out really well. The color palette, getting all that. There's one thing that I had to be careful though, is that when I was here, I was casting shadows on the actual subject, on the basket, or my grandfather. So the sun was just behind me, so I actually had to be on the left and have the camera slightly right to be able to get these shots. But they worked out really well. I didn't shoot a lot from that angle because there was quite a few reflective things, and I didn't want to move anything. I like, as you know, like approaching this as a documentary, and I think it just didn't fit to move anything. So I was trying to move around, and I think this is the last shots, lots of close-ups. And yeah, just a bit of movement at the end. Yeah. And just ended up on the 2 shots as well. And I think it's really important. I was talking about into one of my latest video, the passion project. I think it's great to be able to shoot for yourself like this, because it allows you to try new things. And this was great. Like, shooting midday is not something that I would have done if I had the choice as to when to shoot this. Also, shooting on a vintage Contax Zeiss lens for a documentary maybe would have not, especially for outside, would have not been my first choice, but worked out really well. And having the 2 stationary subjects and not moving anywhere at all except for just to get the leaves at some point was quite a good exercise, because over like an hour and a half allowed me to get lots of different shots, and it was quite impressive the amount of different angles that I managed to get in just an hour and a half. Now, talking about the interview, I had a lot of questions about this, if it was planned or if I had written something. The interview was done on my grandfather's living room table in 5 minutes, no prep. I just asked him to talk about the baskets and ask him, when did you start and why? That's it. There was no preparation. I just wanted him to deliver something that was organic and genuine, and he did. And it was only 5 minutes long. I think the file was like maybe 4 minutes, and I've used like 70% of it. And yeah, there was no preparation. It was a very minimal setup. As you can see, I'm just going to show you a photo now of the actual setup. So I think I've used my camera and the top handle and the monitor arm on top of the top handle to attach the mic. So it definitely wasn't planned. No tripod, no mic stand, no live mic, nothing. I just had my Rode NTG video mic, and that's it. And for the edits, I ended up using pretty much every single shot that I've shot that day. So yeah, I think it's a good exercise, and I don't know if you guys are into that kind of like short documentaries. It's quite specific, but I think it's a very good exercise to pick a subject, a time frame, and even if it's just not the right time of day, even if you don't have the right lens or anything like that, try to make something out of it, because it really forces you to work on instinct. And I think that's very important in documentaries, yes, but also to make decisions in any kind of projects. So yeah, so hope you've enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm sure I forgot to cover some topics, but I don't want the video to be half an hour long. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.